Hi, drawing students. So today we're going to go over the grid method. Um, First, I want to start with looking at this picture. Can you draw this image? If I asked you to simply look at it and draw it, many of you might feel overwhelmed. Maybe some of you wouldn't. But if I asked you to draw what was simply inside this box, here, I'm guessing almost all of you would have no hesitation just being able to see dark and light and the simple shapes that are in it. You could draw that no problem. Now, this is the basic idea of the grid method. So the grid method is a system of copying a scene by looking through a grid. And it's actually been around for a really long time. The ancient Egyptians used it to draw their small images that they had carefully designed onto walls that were 20 feet high. So this is a method that works well. The basic idea is you have a grid on top of the scene that you want to draw, and you create the same proportion grid on a paper, and you draw what you see within each box one at a time and take small pieces so that it's not overwhelming and that you can be more accurate. It can be drawn larger or it can be drawn smaller. It just really depends on what you want. So the ancient Egyptians used it. In Renaissance times, artists like Leonardo da Vinci used it, Albrecht Dürer, Vincent van Gogh even used it. So if you look at this example, you can see more clearly what I'm trying to explain. So you draw what you see in one square at a time. So using digital media, you can put a grid on almost anything really easily. You draw what you see in one box in the corresponding box on your paper. So I can show you this simple scene drawn here. Now, if you're just drawing an outline without adding additional shading or color, it may not look perfect right away, but it's a great way to set your drawing up so that your proportion is accurate and then you can add other pieces. But it only works if you pay really close attention. So here's an artist's original drawing and here's a student copy. If you look along the grid lines in the artist original and then the same or corresponding grid lines in the student copy, you'll see many little differences. There are about 25 small errors here. Now this is a likeness, but it is not an accurate copy of the artist's original image. So you can go back and forth and just notice things that you see are different. Simple things from like the space between the feet in the artist's original to the student copy, to like more subtle things like the spacing of the fingers being close or the positioning of the hand, things like that. Now if we zoom in and look at one square at a time, you can see even more clearly some of the dramatic changes, like the angle and the shape of the nose is very different. The angle of the glasses here to here, very different. The positioning of the eyes in relationship to the nose and the glasses. The mouth is missing. You might also notice the hand separation, so the distance between the thumb and the face, and the distance between the pinky finger and the outside of the box. All kinds of little differences can be observed. Now, just to keep this even simpler, a way to like really make your drawings more accurate, you can divide your grids into smaller sections. So if you're looking at one box at a time to draw, and then you draw even smaller pieces within it, so if you divide each box horizontally, you can see right away that the inside edge of the elbow should be on this line in the student copy. That wasn't completely done. And if you draw vertical lines, you can notice other things that help you see, oh, the edge of the purse should touch right here. And you can notice like the hip and the arm come together almost on this center line, and they should come out. And if you look at the student copy, the hip and the arm touch way down here, so that's out of proportion. The length of the earring, all these details can be seen more clearly. Now the idea works really well as long as you do two things. This is the student copy, but if I wanted to take this student copy and draw it into this box, I could do that, and it would be perfectly accurate. As long as I paid attention, it would just be smaller. If I drew the student copy into this grid set, it would not be accurate. Why is that? Because the boxes are not square. They're not the same proportion. These are rectangular shaped boxes and these are squares. So she would instantly be stretched out and distorted. So to make this method work, you must always have the same number of squares on the original drawing as you have on your paper, and the squares must be the same proportion. They do not have to be the same size. So for your assignment, you'll select one of the options over here on the left that's also posted in your Schoology assignment, and then you're going to draw a grid on your paper. This YouTube tutorial right here shows you how to draw a grid onto your paper without using a ruler, but just another lined sheet of paper. So you can watch this. If you want to use a ruler and measure out your own grid, that's fine. All of the grids on these example images have 6 boxes, 2 across, 3 down, or 3 across, 2 down. So the next slide shows you an example of how to draw within the grid. So you can click on this demonstration to see how to approach drawing each square, and this tutorial goes through all of that in addition to adding color. So your assignment is to add color to your drawing so that each square is drawn completely, and there's a step-by-step in the following slides. You can see how I slowly build up the image and then slowly build up the color in addition. And the last slide shows you the steps that you need to take to make your drawing. And additionally, there is another just simple outline of a grid here. For those of you who need modification, we can go over this during our class.